Okay, I'm Anna Francesca Celestino.
And I'm Simone Butler.
Welcome to the Cosmic Download for May 2018. This year is just zipping right along. So I feel like I want to make a disclaimer for this month because Simone and I were both comparing notes this morning on how we're doing personally. And so, Simone, what's going on?
Oh, it's that full moon in Scorpio that just happened last night. And Anna and I are the same age, and it means that the full moon was on our Saturn, which Saturn is not the most fun, uplifting, lighthearted of planets. So there's been some heavy stuff.
Heavy stuff. So anyway, hopefully we don't dive too deep today and get too depressing. No, I don't think we will, but anyway, I feel like, it could be a more intense reading this month than we usually do. And so in keeping with that, the first energy that I felt when I felt into May was sadness. And I was like, oh God, I don't want to have to say that. But my sense about it is that at least in the beginning of this month, whatever we're feeling is going to be right on the surface. And I'm a big fan of feeling your feelings because I see the feelings as messengers. And I think that they're here to tell us something. So if you're feeling sad, it means you're feeling disconnected from something or someone. And so what do you do to either create that connection or look at that situation? If you're feeling angry, to me, that says that your boundaries are being crossed somewhere. What do you need to do? Either you defend your boundaries or expand your boundaries. If you're feeling afraid, it means to me that you're buying into something that's not true about how life works. There's some misperception. So get your perceptions cleared up. So that's the first step for me for this month.
Wow. Tell me more.
Oh, well, actually in my book, I have a whole section, the whole back part with all the tools goes into great depth about the messages, the true messages of our emotions. And that's my book, Igniting Change.
Yay. So let's talk about May. The first thing I want to say is that we do have the holy day of Beltane happening tomorrow. I go into that at much greater length in my weekly forecast, Simone Says, that just came out yesterday. So you can check that out and become a patron if you're interested.
How do we get to that?
At patreon.com/Simone Butler.
Okay.
And at any rate, Beltane is a beautiful holiday of connecting to the earth and sort of restoring ourselves emotionally, physically, in every way. And we really need that right now because we've come through kind of a difficult month. April was not an easy time. There was a lot going on. And we also have some very interesting stuff happening at the middle of May that could be a little bit, discomforting for some. It's a wake-up call. So, but in the meanwhile, it's important to get back in touch with our bodies and do things that our bodies are happy with, and to go out and be in nature, especially tomorrow, May 1st, which is Beltane.
Nice. That sort of ties in a little bit with another piece that I got for this month. I got this the sense of reunification. So there's something about us reuniting with the earth, reuniting with our bodies, reuniting with our emotions, our feelings, reuniting with, I think it's not about with other people, but it's about with ourselves. It's about really drawing in the lost parts of ourselves. I think that's where the sadness comes up for me. I just think that we were talking earlier about these gaps that we have in our lives, and I just feel like this month is going to be helpful for us to close some of the gaps that we have. So on one hand, I think it's the gap between, it's that separation from self. It's about that part of ourselves that we know we can be, that we know. I feel like I laugh at myself sometimes because I feel like I have this parallel life going on. It's like, when I get whatever, money, work, whatever, then I'll do this. well, when I get my perfect home, then I'll do this. It's like all of these things that I keep putting off. Then I'll cook, then I'll bake, then I'll have my garden, then I'll do all these things. And there's like this parallel life that's sitting out there waiting for me. And yet I'm in this life right now. And I really feel like this month is all about closing that gap, like drawing in. I imagine pulling in, these tethered parts of ourselves, pulling them back from the future, the past, just drawing all the parts of ourselves back into the now. And I think, Simone, you had a good phrase for that point where things cross over.
Oh, this is actually a phrase coined by a teacher named Maria Nemeth. She talks about trouble at the border. I was reminded of this recently through a post by my dear friend, Lisa Schrader. And trouble at the border is something that is necessary, that actually occurs whenever we step out of our comfort zone and attempt to try something new or to move toward a dream. And inevitably, what will happen, and I've been going through this myself around my new weekly show and all the technological issues I've been facing in making that happen, is, you can expect to have a few meltdowns. It's going to happen, and it's part of the process, and it's okay. But if you stay in your comfort zone forever because you're afraid to face those little gremlins that pop up, then you're not going to ever get where you want to be.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, we just did the graduation workshop for my program, The Shift System. And there were, the people who were there, we had an experience it was called Finding Edge, and going through it, moving through it. And it's all about that edge, the trouble at the border. It's like, how do you know that you've hit that edge? How do you deal with the emotions that are sitting there on the edge? And then how do you go through that? And so my point about bringing this up today is I feel like there's this capacity this month for this reunification of the self. But to get there, we have to go past the trouble at the border. To bring the parts of ourselves that are way out there are the parts that we pushed away because either they were too painful or unresolved. We need to bring all of that stuff back in. It only hurts for a minute when you bring it back in, but it feels like, oh, you've hit this edge, this piece, that trouble at the border. Feel it, accept it, and then just shine a light on it and bring it back in. Mm-hmm. This month, I think we have this opportunity to experience more wholeness of the self, if we're courageous enough to do it.
Well, another piece of that is, for me, and I'm sure for a lot of you, that we have a vision of what we might want for ourselves, but then there's the reality of where we are now, and it feels like, talking about gaps, it feels like this huge gap between, where we are now and where we want to be.
Absolutely.
And so I think that we're going to get some real nudges from the universe this month toward getting closer to that vision. And that's what's happening mid-month when Uranus, the planet of change and awakening, moves into Taurus. And Taurus is not a sign that likes to change. Of all the signs, it really wants to stay in its comfort zone. So a lot of people are going to get a wake-up call that the comfort zone is simply not going to work anymore. And whether you like it or not, you have to start taking some steps outside that zone. But Taurus is the earth as well. And the earth is in dire peril right now. And so Uranus moving into the sign of the earth is a call for those of us who care about the planet to really start stepping up in that regard as well.
Well, and you had mentioned the phrase when we were talking earlier, like a jackhammer. And I definitely get that feeling with that energy, trying to break up the old that's been so crystallized and solidified.
Yeah.
I think there's another piece that about, and I don't know astrology, but when we're talking about Taurus and we're talking about something that doesn't want to change, I talk a lot in the shift system about our identity. So we have to be able to hold on to the truth of who we are while everything's changing around us. So letting all the things that are untrue about our lives, untrue about ourselves, go and move and morph and change, but knowing that there's that place within that never changes. That's that place that's true, that's solid, that's grounded. So we just have to focus on that center and let everything else move and change around us.
Mm-hmm. Good point.
Yeah. So we're talking about gaps and closing the gaps. I guess this might be a good time for me to mention about my course.
Sure.
Every 90 days, we have open enrollment for my Shift System. It's a 90-day group coaching program. The idea is to provide a structure for you to make some changes in your life. And, I want to say we don't mess around in there. People really come in with all different kinds of reasons. And maybe, I think in a lot of ways, it's just a certain level of unrest in some part of your life. We provide the structure, the guidance, the support for you to really make the changes that you want to make and to close that gap between where you are and where you want to be. So we have open enrollment right now. If you're feeling like there's a relationship that's not working, family dynamics, I know a lot of people just struggle with anxiety and fear and just not being able to get past that. Maybe you're looking for a new focus, a new purpose, any number of reasons people have come into the program with, but in the end, they walk away with a greater sense of who they are, that more of that sense of centering. One of my folks from the first 90-day level said she got more movement out of this 90-day course than she had from years of therapy. So I like shortcuts. I've been doing this work for a long time. I like being able to get right to the root of what's going on and help you pull up the old roots that aren't working, put something new in its place. So you've got this week, if you're interested, to go to my website and sign up, or if you want to email me if you have any questions about it. Open enrollment ends on Saturday. I don't know what Saturday is, the 6th, I think, something like that.
Well, and I just have to say that I'm very excited. I'm going to be part of it this time.
Yay.
Yay. So come join us.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, come join Simone and I. It's awesome. All right. Anything else is there anything
There's
you want
a
people
lot
to do?
more to know and to be said about Uranus moving into Taurus. It's happening on a new moon. It's happening as Mars changes signs to square Uranus. And it's more than I can get into here, but I'll be blogging about it to some degree and also going into much more depth about how it might affect each sign in my weekly.
Oh, I love that. So you go through each sign so we can see how
every
specifically.
Week.
Wow, that's awesome.
And
that's
I don't do that anywhere else.
That's great. So, okay, good. So again, they just go to Patreon, Patreon.
Patreon.com/Simone Butler.
Awesome. All right. Well, this is going to be an interesting month. We hope that you really get something meaningful out of it for yourself and see some movement in your life. That's it. I guess we'll see you in June.
Bye-bye.